Today's lesson is going to be about drawing snowflakes. Today we will be using our painting supplies, a paintbrush, a little bit of water, a pencil, some crayons, thick paper if you have some, and salt if you would like to use it, but you don't have to. The artist we are going to learn about today is Wilson Bentley, a farmer from Vermont that took pictures of snowflakes up close. You can read more about his biography in Snowflake Bentley by Briggs Martin. Snowflake Bentley lived in the late 1800s, and he used his giant camera to take pictures of snowflakes up close. In January of 1885, he became the first person to photograph a single piece of snow up close. He was also the one that discovered that no two snowflakes made were ever the same. Take a look at how each one has 6 branches coming off of it, and each branch is exactly the same. What shapes do you see inside of these snowflakes? Do you see any lines that you recognize too? Shapes? Or even letters that you can see? These are photographs of real snowflakes that you see here, and the art is called photography. Each one is different and unique, just how you are each different and unique yourselves. Okay, get ready to draw your own snowflakes. Let's start using pencil. You start by drawing an X on your paper. You can draw it anywhere you want on your paper, and it can be big or small. Next, draw a line through the X, and now you have the 6 branches of your snowflake. You want all 6 branches to be about the same length, so if you need to make any longer or shorter, you can do that now. Next, you can add any shapes that you want to your snowflake, but whatever you do to one branch, you want to do it to all of them. So I started by doing a circle at the end of every branch. Next, I added the letter V right below the circle. This letter V you see a lot in real snowflakes, so I wanted to add that to each one of my branches as well, but you can do whatever kind of shapes or lines you want to use. Next, I added 2 straight lines to each branch of my snowflake. Finally, you can add a shape in the middle, so I added a circle to the middle of my snowflake, but you can do any shape that you want. Okay, now you got the hang of it. Let's do it again. I'm going to draw another big X on my paper and a line through it. Then we'll do the same thing. We'll add some shapes and V's to each one. So I added 2 V's, and then I turned my paper to make it easier for me to add my 2 V's to each branch of my snowflake. This way, I didn't have to draw any of my V's upside down. It's easier for me to draw it the right way. Next, I added some triangles, and again, I just turned my paper around as I added a triangle to each branch of my snowflake. We want our snowflakes to be symmetrical. That means that they are the same on both sides. And finally, I added a hexagon to the inside by drawing some straight lines, but you can do whatever shape you want on the inside of your snowflake. You might want to add some smaller snowflakes around yours, or just have a few big main ones. So for my next snowflake, I started with my X, drew a line through it, and put a triangle with 3 sides at the end of each line on my snowflake. Next, I wanted to draw some straight lines in between my X. Finally, I ended each of those straight lines with a circle. If you like how that looks, you can try one like that, but your snowflakes do not have to look anything like mine. Remember, every snowflake is unique. Finally, I wanted to add just a few smaller snowflakes around by just doing an X with a line through it a few times. If you like how that looks, you can add some more snowflakes around your bigger snowflakes. I even added that V shape. I really liked how that V shape made my snowflakes look realistic, so I wanted to add some more of those V shapes at the end of my smaller snowflakes branches. The one up in the upper left-hand corner I made look kind of unique by adding a couple of hexagons around them. It made it almost look like a spider web. I wouldn't suggest putting quite as many snowflakes as I did on your paper. You may just want to keep it simple. My hand really did start to hurt there at the end. Once you have a few different snowflakes, a few different sizes, now what you're going to do is trace them in crayon. So pick one color of crayon and you're going to stay on your pencil lines. Just draw over those pencil lines again in crayon. You'll want to cover all of your pencil lines in crayon, but you don't have to press very hard. I think that's one reason why my hand started to hurt. You may want them all to be the same color, or you may want to switch to another color for each snowflake like I did. So I did my first one gray, and then I did my second one blue. Notice I'm not really coloring my snowflake. I'm just tracing by staying on each of those lines and going over each shape and line that I drew. I really like how this light orange snowflake turned out after I traced it over in that color. And then I also did some in purple and pink that I thought turned out well too. You will want to make sure to trace over each of your snowflakes in crayon because the crayon makes the watercolor paint resist or push the water away from the snowflakes so it's not covered up by paint. Wilson Bentley was able to give us a good idea of what these snowflakes look like up close because he had a sort of magnifying glass inside of his camera to blow up the images of snowflakes. So here's how my snowflakes looked after I was finished tracing them in crayon. Now we're going to add the watercolor over the top. I wanted to use cool colors. I'd used a lot of blues and purples because I wanted to make it look like a cool winter day. Notice how I first dip my paintbrush in the water, then I swirl it around in the color that I want to use. You can see there I didn't get a dark enough paint, so I went back and swirled it around in the purple again. That's how you make the paint darker. You just go back to the paint and swirl it around on your paintbrush to get more on there. If you want your paint to be lighter, try adding just a bit more water to your brush. You can do any colors that you want over your snowflakes, and you can use any technique that you want. You can see I just did a back and forth motion, and I am going right over my snowflakes. So you're just going to paint back and forth. Go ahead and go right over those snowflakes because remember, the crayon on the snowflakes will resist away the paint in the water so that they won't get covered up. Notice how I start at the top of my paper and work back and forth across my paper towards the bottom. And whenever I want to mix two colors together, I always go to the water first, then the new color I want to mix in, and then I paint the two colors on top of each other. Go ahead and experiment with mixing different colors together or seeing how two different colors look next to each other. Watch how I add the purple and then I blend it out by blending it with the purple and the blue together. Finally, I added some red into that corner there, and then I added some blue, and watch how I just took my paintbrush, went back and forth to blend those three colors together. And here's how my painting looked after I was done adding all the paint. For this next step, you are going to want your paper to be wet. So if you need to go back and add some more paint or water, do that now. So I'm just taking some regular table salt and I'm just sprinkling it over the top of my entire wet painting here. You don't have to do this part, but I do like how it turned out. You can see it start to change here, and as it dries, it will give it a look almost like frost when the salt reacts with the paint and water. I can't wait to see how unique your snowflakes are.